Very well, guys. So now we're going to go on to the texturing of the blade, and it's actually a rather, I would say, simple thing that we're going to be doing here. As I mentioned before, I want to create this sort of effect where the weapon is not like active with the magma and the lava, and then we're going to have another version where it is active. So if we go all the way up here, I did do some adjustments to the textures, by the way, to make this a little bit lighter so we can have a little bit more contrast between the pieces. But we're going to go here to the blade itself, and as you can see, we already have this stylized blade raw, which is looking quite nice. Like, I like the effect that we have right there. So I'm going to look for metal, and we're going to use... Actually, let me see... kind of want to use a simple effect here. This really threw me up for a loop because I was used to the other materials, the basic materials from Substance, and it updated probably during the night. Anyway, so let's add a fill layer here. Let's do this manually, and I'm gonna have a. It is gonna be a metallic, but it's gonna be quite rough, and it's gonna be quite dark as well. So we're gonna go really dark. Let's keep the blues. There we go, something like that. And let's add a black mask. And now what I want to do is I want to paint in on all of the areas. And I'm gonna change the brush here because this brush is really bad for this sort of thing. Let's use our Dirt 2. By the way, you can use your tablet in here as well. So if you have yourself, or if you have a Wacom tablet or a Huion or whatever, you can use it here. So I'm gonna use this one right here. There we go. So as you can see, this is gonna paint the sort of like old oxidized metal that we would expect here. And we're gonna keep the border really, really, really clean. Not super clean, but a little bit cleaner. Remember that this is mirrored, so whatever I'm doing on one side is gonna be on the other side. Let's go a little bit more aggressive here. And one of the things that I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna push this with height just a little bit up, so we can generate sort of like a border, like a crust. Right now, the only thing that I don't like about this is that it's very flat, but we're gonna change that in just a second. So let's add all of this element, all of this, all of this. Just paint all of this area right here. There we go. On the back as well. We're just gonna keep the blade kind of like active. Play very, very carefully there. There we go. There we go. There we go. Cool. So as you can see, this gives us a very, very nice texture overall for the axe. But now we need to bring or add some sort of like visual interest because it looks very, very bad. So I'm gonna use the clay terracotta again on top here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of the height and the roughness and the metal. I'm just gonna keep the color and I'm gonna change this to an overlay. And of course the color here, I'm gonna keep it black and white. So what this will do, as you can see right there, actually we can keep it a little bit warm. Doesn't look bad. As you can see, what this is going to do is it's going to add a very, very nice like effect to the whole thing because it's just adding its color information. So instead of having this very flat color, we're going to get this. Of course, we can play with the overlay as well to minimize the effect. And even this one, I really want to like minimize the effect on this one a little bit so it's not as intense. There we go. So we can get something that looks a little bit more interesting. I still feel like that looks a little bit weird. I'm going to use an overlay here. There we go. That I think that merges things a little bit better. Something like that looks okay. Looks okay. One of the things that we're definitely going to add is some rust. So let's go for our rust layer. Where is it? Right here, metal rust. Let's add a black mask, and we're going to add a generator, and it's going to be a dirt generator. So the rust should go, there you go. Look at how beautiful it goes in all of the crevices between the rocks, which is exactly what we want. This one definitely goes into overlay mode, and as you can see, that's going to allow me to generate a very nice transition on the whole thing. Now, the one thing I don't like about this rust, as you can see, it's that it's rusting my edge as well, and it's making the edge not look as sharp. So I'm going to add a paint layer, and on the paint layer, I'm going to paint the rust out of those areas so that we can keep a very, very clean effect there on the blade of the weapon. There we go. Now, as with everything else, my friends, remember that all of this takes time, right? I'm again kind of like speed running this to show you the main tricks and techniques, but I could spend like days working on the textures for an object to make sure that it looks as nice as possible. I'm actually debating whether or not I want to have like a clean line here on this border. I'm gonna try to blend it a little bit better because I feel like it's not perfect. I'm gonna clean the line a little bit more. I feel like a sharper line might be a good idea. We're still missing the metal edgeware, which is also gonna help quite a bit. Just want to make sure that this looks as good as it can. There we go. We're here. I'm tempted to add just a little bit of darkness there. Again, kind of like soot or just like general dirt on the axe. Cool. Now the axe could really benefit from the scratches, and this is one of the cool things. If you already have a scratch layer, you can just Control C, bring it all the way to the top, and Control B, and this is gonna add the scratch to the axe. Look at how nice that makes it look. Very, very cool, right? And now, of course, the scratches, we can change things. For instance, we can get rid of the paint layer of the scratches and just paint or play with the balance, with the tiling. Find something that looks interesting. I think that one looks very, very cool. I am gonna like lower the intensity a little bit. I don't want to have that much scratches, but there we go. So yeah, that's good. That looks good. I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm gonna add another rust layer. I'm gonna add a black mask to this rust layer, and I want this to be like a little bit more like fresh rust. So I'm gonna go to this element, and I'm gonna use this like dirt. And as you can see, I can add like a little bit more. Remember when we were doing the sculpting and they mentioned about the transition, like how we go from less to more? That's the kind of stuff that I want to do here as well, to make it seem like this rust is accumulating a little bit more on this area. Let's change to like this very like nice dots erased. And there we go. Look at how nice that looks. Oh my god. I really, really like how this is looking. Yeah, that looks really sick. Not bad, right? Not freaking bad. So one more thing that I want to add is I want to add a sort of like effect on the metal to make it look like brushed metal. So if we go here, we can see that we have this metal brushed. I'm going to go all the way down above the stylized raw material. As you can see, that gives us a very, very nice effect on the blade. So it's making it look way, way sharper. And what we can do here is we can actually copy the mask from this one. So I'm going to click and say copy mask. Or copy mask. And then go to the metal brush, add a white mask, and paste into mask. So what this will do right now, it's on this side, but we can go to the mask and we can just say invert mask. And now what we're going to have here is we're going to have this very cool effect where we have this sort of like brush metal going on the part of the blade. So that one's pretty cool. I'm going to change this to linear dodge so that it becomes like a lighter. And then I'm going to really bring this down because I don't want to have as much colors. It's mainly the texture that I want to have on the blade itself, so that it shines very, very nicely. So you can imagine this on a game where this thing is going to be, again, shining very, very cool. I think we can make it just a tad bit darker. I feel like it's a little bit light compared to everything else. There we go. That looks really, really cool. And finally, the last thing that we can add to this blade effect is, of course, a metal edgeware. So let me add just a new layer. This is going to be a metallic layer. Add a black mask. Right click. Add the generator. We're going to add a metal edgeware. This is going to hit all of the edges. As you can see, it's going to make it everything very, very sharp, very, very nice. I like it. I am going to change this to linear dodge, and I am going to reduce the intensity a little bit. And then I'm going to add a paint layer, and I'm going to use one like dirt, like paint or dirt brush, like, where is it? Like this dirt too. There we go. And I'm gonna remove it from certain areas. Remember that we, especially for metal edgeware, we don't want to have this sort of like detail everywhere. Maybe we do want to have it a lot on the border. I'm still gonna minimize it a little bit, but we want to like blend it a little bit more so that it's not super obvious. On the areas that it doesn't make sense to have a lot of metal edgeware, it's better to just reduce it or eliminate it. And there you go. As you can see, that layer right there is adding a little bit of extra interest to our axe. Now, one very cool thing that I like about Substance Painter is that it actually has its own render engine ready here. It's called Iray. This was done by NVIDIA. It was like it's like the evolution of a very old render engine that we had called Mentor Ray. And if you click the little camera button right here, we're gonna jump into it, and we're gonna be able to see textures look with proper like light and stuff. So this is very flat. I really like the metal. I think the metal is reading really, really nicely, but the volcano is reading really flat right here. And that means that I need to add a little bit more contrast. So I'm gonna go back to painting. I'm gonna go back to the volcano, or to the rock, to the stone. And I mean, first thing I can do is I can increase the intensity of the dirt. I know it might look a little bit too much right here, but as we just saw, it was very little on the other side. For the metal edgeware, we can increase the metal edgeware. We can even go to the metal edgeware and make the color a little bit more light, so that we get a little bit more intensity, so that when we jump onto the render, because this render really gets close to what we were going to be seeing inside of Blender. So if we can make it look good here, then I know that we're going to make or we're going to have a good result inside of Blender as well. So yeah, this looks better. Let's go back here. I still think it's a little bit too much, to be honest, so I'm gonna like lower it a little bit more. And yeah, that's pretty much it, my friends. Like, we are in a very good spot. The blade is ready, the rocks are ready, the metal is ready. We have a very, very nice texture. Again, as I mentioned, we could spend even more time working on the textures. Like, we could do a full course on just like texturing assets for games or for film, but this is already giving us a really, really nice result. So I'm gonna stop it right here, and in the next one we're gonna talk about emission, which is a very, very important process or part of this whole thing. So yeah, hang on tight, and I'll see you back on the next video.